In November 1962, as Indian troops struggled to hold their ground against China's swift and relentless advance, Beijing made a decision that stunned the world. Just weeks after launching a military campaign that exposed India's vulnerabilities and sent its political leadership into crisis, Beijing declared a unilateral ceasefire. The war, which had seen Chinese forces push deep into Indian territory, abruptly ended, leaving both state heads and security analysts scrambling to understand China's motives. The territorial disputes between India and China were rooted in the imprecise and contested borders inherited from the British colonial rule. Now, there were two key areas at the heart of this conflict. A barren, high-altitude region of roughly 38,000 square kilometers, Aksai Chin was part of the princely state of Jammu and Kashmir under British rule. While India claimed the region based on the 19th century Johnson Line, China considered it a part of Xinjiang based on historical control. The other region was the Northeastern Frontier Agency, or NEFA. Now, in the eastern Himalayas, the McMahon Line, drawn in 1914 during the Simla Convention, demarcated the borders between British India and Tibet. While India accepted the McMahon Line as part of its northern boundary, China rejected it, claiming the area as part of Tibet. This area, now Arunachal Pradesh, became a flashpoint of skirmishes as both sides fought to assert control. This, along with the direct territorial conflict between the two states after China's annexation of Tibet, further exacerbated tension, with Beijing accusing New Delhi of undermining China's sovereignty. The war began on October 20th, 1962, with simultaneous Chinese offensives in the eastern and western sectors. Chinese troops, who were far better prepared and equipped for high-altitude warfare, quickly overwhelmed Indian positions. Now, despite sporadic Indian counterattacks, the war was largely a one-sided affair. The conflict highlighted a stark contrast between the Chinese military's discipline and organization and the Indian army's unpreparedness, for which Nehru's government faced severe criticisms. But on November 21st, China announced a unilateral ceasefire and withdrew its troops to positions behind the LAC. The sudden decision surprised many, given Beijing's military dominance at the time. And scholars have since proposed several reasons for the abrupt end. By withdrawing after achieving its objectives, China sought to present itself as a responsible power, sending a message to India and the world. With the Cuban Missile Crisis resolved and US military aid now beginning to flow into India, prolonging the war might have risked international intervention. By withdrawing voluntarily, China claimed the moral high ground, portraying itself as non-aggressive while leaving India both politically and militarily humiliated. This move also damaged India's leadership in the non-aligned movement and strained its relations with both the US and the Soviet Union. Old Times of India articles from 1962 also suggest that the harsh weather conditions, which were already setting in, would make it impossible for Chinese forces to sustain their supply lines across the rugged terrain of Tibet. With its logistical challenges mounting, China may have decided it was better to pull back before getting bogged down. Now, despite China's overwhelming superiority, the articles also acknowledge the courage of Indian soldiers. Their resistance may not have reversed the tide, but it had slowed China's advance across the rugged terrain of both NEFA and Aksai Chin.
From the battlefield to the fighting ring, young women are taking to MMA fighting, breaking stereotypes, and even punching above their weight to make a mark.
In the heart of Chennai, the atmosphere at an MMA center is electric, a place where strength, skill, and determination collide, where every punch, every kick, every takedown is a step closer to victory. Among the rising stars is 23-year-old Afshan Fatima, a force to be reckoned with in the world of mixed martial arts, also known as MMA. An 8-time national champion, Afshan's journey has taken her to the podium at the 2024 World MMA Championships in Tashkent, where she brought home a silver medal for India.
We train about 6.5 hours a day, 4.5 hours technique classes, and then 1 hour we do strength and conditioning. And training has always been there. It's never, never stopped training for anything at all.
When Afshan first entered the world of MMA, it was a male-dominated sport. But through grit and perseverance, she proved herself among the toughest.
Firstly, it's not dangerous because you're trained. It's more than just a sport, and going at it professionally, nothing, better than that. It's great. Even for our own safety, we should be independent as women is something that I believe in, and every woman should learn the sport.
Women are breaking barriers in the sport. Young talents like 14-year-old Jeevanandini, who dreams of competing in the UFC, are setting new standards. And for others, MMA offers life-changing lessons beyond just the fight.
I chose MMA because I just wanted to learn self-defense, but now I got an interest and all that, and I loved it a lot. So yeah, it's always pushing ourselves to the limit. You can do more than you always think. I think overall, like mindset, the way we approach anything in life in general, and health, to be more conscious.
For Afshan, the journey has been one of breaking societal norms. Initially, her parents were hesitant about her path, but now they stand by her, proud of the woman she has become.
More than positives, a lot of negatives are thrown at you. So that's something that I faced when I started as well. But I think now people are, getting in, and there are a lot of women I see.
Afshan's story is just one of many. From overcoming obstacles to embracing discipline and resilience, MMA is changing lives in Chennai and beyond. And the future, it is in the hands of these fighters. MMA is not just a sport, it's a journey. And for women like Afshan, the fight is just beginning.
From the fighting ring to the sunny beaches of Goa, where a battle of a different kind is dominating social media conversation. Is Goa losing out on tourists? Take a look.
It is peak tourism season, when everyone talks about a holiday in Goa to celebrate the new year. But this time around, the buzz is not about the state's sunny beaches, but about the decline in tourist footfalls.
Not to put up a check this time because my main clients were the Russians. So, Russians, there are very few.
However, the numbers tell a different story. Domestic tourism in Goa surged to 8 million visitors in 2023, nearly double the 4.5 million recorded in 2014. Foreign tourist arrivals, while still below pre-pandemic levels, are steadily recovering, with 4.5 lakh arrivals in 2023, which is 45% of the 2019 figures and significantly better than the national average of 30%. While the number of tourists has grown, the profile of the visitors is changing. Many are budget travelers who often disregard local rules and culture. Overcrowding, inadequate public transport, and waste management issues put a strain on Goa's infrastructure.
See, we've checked all the numbers from the association point of view. There are 106 domestic flights coming into Goa today. So that an average would be around 15,000 people coming every day into Goa.
Though still far from pre-COVID numbers, the current tourist season looks promising. British charter tourists have doubled over last year. A new Polish charter airline is operational, and direct flights from Russia, Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan have commenced. Goa's 2 airports ensure seamless connectivity, placing the state just an hour's flight from major Indian metros and offering international linkages crucial for tourism growth.
What really has happened is the profile of the tourist has changed. We have become largely a domestic-driven destination. We had 8 million tourists in 2023 who were domestic tourists.
What has been surprising is through the off-season, which some few years ago we weren't even seeing enough business, we are now fairly doing a good amount of business that follows through the season.
Goa's connectivity draws the burgeoning Indian middle class, which is now the key driver of global tourism. Known for taking multiple short vacations, these tourists find Goa an accessible and convenient destination. Affordability and ease of access are prime factors driving this segment.
I think someone who spends 2,000 for a flight would not want to spend 3,000 on a taxi. I think that would be extremely unfair to the people visiting the state.
The foreigners come from their country to Goa. Why do they come? They want to relax over here. They want clean beaches, good roads, good infrastructure.
Now with our fellow Indian tourists all over the world, there are challenges. When they go on a holiday, especially in India, they're used to not keeping boundaries. They just step into any area. And so there is this thing that there is an increasing issue with locals and tourists. And there are specific spots in Goa which are now experiencing over-tourism. If you take the beaches of North Goa, especially Baga, Kalangut, a little bit of Hondainish, and certain other roads. So there are flashpoints coming and there is aggression coming.
As Goa navigates these growing pains, stakeholders must balance the influx of tourists with sustainable practices that ensure that Goa's identity is preserved.